This is Huzefa, class of 2023. I'm on my way to attend UIC majoring in business, and I'm going to walk you through how to replace an LCD cable on a Chromebook. So this is an entire LCD cable. So replacing the cable itself is not entirely too common. However, you will do it like frequently when changing LCDs on an Acer spin. So this is the cable for an Acer spin. This is the screen. So there's two step parts to the assembly. So in order to perform the repair, you're gonna need a screwdriver, the magnetic tray, and the spudger to separate the LCD assembly. So for a replacement, we're also gonna need a replacement LCD cable, which could be found at the Chromebook junkyard, and it's under the bin that says Acer Good. And since since they're like really tiny cables, it's maybe difficult to find. So if you're having trouble, speak to one of the teachers. So in terms of knowledge required, you'll have to understand when to replace an LCD cable, the correct form and function to repair it, and where to find the proper replacements, and how to separate the LCD assembly from the actual Chromebook. Typically, when a Chromebook is in need of a LCD replacement, you're gonna have to look for common signs and symptoms of a troubleshooting process. The troubleshooting process. For the LCD cable itself, you look for like the LCD, like if this is glitching, you look for that. If it's flickering, the screen is not turning on, etc. So our first step in troubleshooting is first we have to make sure obviously the device shows a light, and then if the screen is working and the student is reporting a flickering screen, we would check the LCD cable connection manually by putting the device in and out of convertible or yoga mode to see if the connection point is either too tight or too loose. So like while we're doing this, that would like typically if the cable is experiencing an issue that's intermittent, we'll see this when we're adjusting the device like this. So if this is your Chromebook, you have to we go all the way to see if the LCD cable is loose or if it's too tight, and you would feel it. So if the device starts to flicker at any point, you typically just do a LCD connection reseat. And in fact, a reseat of an LCD is pretty much the first place you should go once you open up the device, no matter what the issue is with the LCD. So in order to remove the LCD first, or sorry, not remove, reseat the LCD, we first remove the backplate. So these are all the screws. I took them out already. So first we lift up from besides the headphone jack, or the other side of the headphone jack, we take it out. And then, so everything, always you have to unplug the battery first before you perform any repair, not just LCD. You have to take the battery off for any repair. And then for an LCD repair, this is the LCD connection to the motherboard right here. So you have to take the lock off, and then you have to reseat the cable. So you just take it out and you slide it right back in and you lock it again. So that's how to successfully perform an LCD reseat. So at this point, we would also check to see if there's enough play or freedom of movement with the LCD cable to allow it to connect to the motherboard. So here you can see that there is enough, like it's not too tight, it's not too loose, like there's enough amount of room. So this isn't the problem. So now at this point, you would attempt to check for the display to work, but you would plug the battery back in, and you would see if the LCD screen powers on and if the screen doesn't flicker. So should the screen not work, one last troubleshooting step you would need to perform is to check to see if the device will display through an external monitor. So if the device does display on an external monitor, we know it's a cable with we know it's an issue with either the cable or the LCD. So you would just hook it up to an external display, such as a monitor. So after you do all that, if the device still doesn't display after hooking it up to an external monitor, we're gonna replace the LCD cable before we replace the LCD itself, because it's a difference of over $100 to replace the cable versus the actual LCD. So step one is to take the back plate off and unplug the battery from the motherboard. And step two is to take these screws off here and unplug and disconnect the LCD cable. So then the second step is to disconnect it from the motherboard, and then you take the chassis up and you open up the LCD. So you would also take off the Wi-Fi cables and all of these cables as well, because they're connected. So there is the LCD now. So the next step is to take a spudger and separate the LCD from separate like the LCD assembly. So you would go in and you would push out to separate it, and then you could just open it up like this. And so what you would do is, this is the actual LCD part. So you would disconnect the LCD, and then you would have to disconnect it. You would have to take the cable out of the hooks and route it all the way up. And then you have to take off the camera and unscrew the mic as well. So this right here is my new LCD cable. So we're gonna first attach the camera on, and line up the mic to the screw hole. So that's set up, and then you put the mic on, and then you would just route the entire cable through the hooks again, and you would route it all the way down and plug the LCD in, and then after you route the cable back in, you plug the LCD in, plug this back in, and then the last step would be to screw in the camera mic at the top. There you go. So then what you would do is you would attach the other part of it back on, and right here you would need to push in the LCD connection into the hinges. So you'd push it into there and then clip everything back down. So next what you would do is you would fully put the LCD back on, and then you would route all these cables back in. You would plug all these cables back in. You'd plug the LCD back in, plug the battery back in. So after you connect all these cables, the last step is to plug the battery back in, and then you would test the LCD. So you would put the backplate back on, you would plug it in, and you would see if the LCD turns on. If there's no flickering and there's no problem with the LCD, you know there was a problem with the LCD cable, which we replaced. So then you would take this cable and you would put it into the Acer bad bin, and then you're done. That's how you replace an LCD cable on an Acer. Besides it being broken, so how to do that is you just unhook the clip, take the LCD connection out, and then you put it back in, and you lock it again. And now that's a receipt.